Time for this week's difficult conversation. Now, this is a story that captivated me. Nina Aouilk was born into a Punjabi family and was the only daughter of 3 children. Now, at the tender age of 6, her family moved to Leicester, and here she became a servant of the house, being forced to cook and clean for her family. During her teenage years, Nina was gang raped, with her father leading the heinous attack, and weeks later she discovered that she was pregnant and was forced to have an abortion by her family. Following this traumatic ordeal, Nina was made to marry one of her attackers to keep the incident quiet, and after years of suffering at the hands of an abusive partner, Nina attempted to make an escape, but this proved to have tragic consequences. She was concerned that this would bring shame on the family, as her community was known to be a tight-knit. So in response, her father and brother attempted to try to murder Nina in an honour killing. Now, this is not an isolated incident in the UK. According to figures, there are an estimated 14 to 15 such murders each year, and moreover, a Freedom of Information request revealed that an 81% rise in such crimes between 2016 and 21. And despite the trauma that Nina has experienced throughout her life, she's become an activist to help shine a spotlight on these important issues. And I'm joined now in the studio by Nina Aouilk. Nina, wow, that's an incredible ordeal. The fact that you're here to tell the story as well, you must be so courageous. Can you talk to me about your life and your family and growing up?
Yeah, sure. So it's quite a common thing, obviously not for people that are not from the culture, but the culture is similar to those in the Middle East and Africa as well, and South America, and lots of other cultures keep coming forward telling me that they also had this lifestyle, almost my old life, whereby girls are just disregarded from birth. Nobody wants them. So I wasn't seen as a person, I was just seen as that girl, just a girl.
But you were one of three daughters, right?
I was one of... No, I had 2 brothers.
So you had 2 brothers and you as a daughter, so that must have been tough, because the boys, were they treated very differently to you?
Most definitely,
right.
But I would see them being loved by my mother and would hear them being, you know, treated in such a great, respectful way. I found love that way, you know, I sort of would be happy for them, not thinking I deserved it, because I didn't think I deserved anything.
Wow, I mean, that must have been tough. So your understanding of love was really how they were treated and not how you were treated. What about your mother, though? Where was she in all this? Surely she would have cared and been worried about you and concerned about you.
Yeah, there were many a times my mother could have just reached out a loving hand, a loving touch, even to look at me in a loving way. But there was always a sense of aggression towards me, almost like I was the disappointment, because I was born that girl. And women do play a huge role in the community when it comes to enabling this honour killing, this mistreatment of young women and young girls in the community.
So the abuse towards you started when you were very young. Can you talk me through some of that? But obviously not too much detail. It's the afternoon, and obviously.
Of course, yeah. Well, I was very non-verbal. I didn't raise my eyes. To speak to somebody now sometimes feels uncomfortable to me too, because we're taught not to make eye contact and not even speak. So it was very minimal, the conversations that were had. I was kept in my room, which was a new room that was attached to the house that we had. It had breeze blocks, it was very bare. And I literally was there from the age of 6, just with books, a bed with no bed sheets, nothing, no soft furnishings, like a child's bedroom should be. And I was only called upon when something needed cooking or cleaning, or there was another task for me to do. And I would come, scurry along, barely reach the surfaces, but prepare meals for my family, because that was my extension of love. That was how I felt. I was involved in a family unit. I didn't know any different.
So what was going through your mind then? Were you sad then, or did you just feel that that was what you meant to be doing, and actually you almost felt good because you were doing that for them and you were providing a job? Because I know my young son, if he does something for me, he's ever so excited because he's young.
But children are unconditionally loving, aren't they? And that was my unconditional way of loving them. I was doing as I was told. I was trying to be the good daughter and try to almost win their affection, not knowing that they didn't hold any affection for me. It was just hatred and anger. I only knew that something had happened that shouldn't happen, that my life wasn't normal when I did get to 14, and unfortunately I was, as I say, raped by a gang of my father's friends and himself, with my father being the first person to do that.
That's just... I mean, it's absolutely horrendous. Obviously, he's not here to give his side of accounts, but, I mean, obviously, I know that you walk around with security and protection because of all of this that has happened to you. When something like that, when that happened, what were your thoughts? What was going through your mind? I mean...
I just didn't want to be anymore. You know, I remember laying in almost a bath of my own blood. My hair was matted, and I remember actually very clearly my mother woke me up because she opened and closed the door a few times quite loudly, and I was quite startled because physically I was broken, but mentally I was broken. And I remember just sort of tapping my head, almost tapping it, and it was blood, you know, there was blood in my hair. And I remember saying to myself, you'll be okay, you'll be fine. But, you know, it's a case of telling yourself that.
Yeah, I mean, that is tough. And so from there, after that experience, what happened from there?
So I was forced into marrying one of the rapist's sons in a sham wedding. It wasn't an actual wedding to him. He had a girlfriend of a different culture, and it was quite common, and it still is. So, but to keep faith, you know, the community happy, to keep that honour, where community members are looking on you and saying, oh, is he following the right routes in our culture? I was married to him, and I was literally there for sexual reasons, for my father-in-law to rape me and to be a domestic servant in their home.
It must have been... I mean, again, these people aren't here to tell their side of the story, but I mean, I take what you're saying as truth, because you are actually campaigning to try and build awareness of this. How do you, from there, try and bring your life back together? Because most people going through something like that, I mean, that's the sort of thing that people may take their life over.
I mean, I did leave the marriage and I did come back to my parents, begging them just to look after me.
Why did you come back?
I came back because I couldn't take the rape. I couldn't take the abuse. There was some real... I know they're not here to talk for themselves, but there was a real type of evil kind of abuse going on, where my ankles were tied with metal coat hangers. It was almost they wanted to instill fear into me, but I was so scared I wouldn't have done anything anyway. And then I ended up going back to my parents because I had nowhere else to go, because in my culture you don't have friends, you don't have somebody you can go to, you don't trust the police, you're told not to speak out, you literally have nobody. So you go to what you know, and I just wanted literally my parents to pick me up as I do my own children and give them a hug. I seriously needed that love, and so many girls and young women still need that love, which is why I am speaking out. I was met, unfortunately, with a very angry father and my brother, who went on to perform what is regarded as an honour killing. They kept throwing the word around, but it is really just another word for attempted murder. And they did break my arm and my jaw, but when I fell, they started to stamp on me and kick me to a point where, you know, I was losing consciousness. I didn't know whether I was alive or dead. And when they did my father put his foot on my throat, I believe I died at that point, and it came back. And I know there's a reason, you know, it sounds quite out there, but I believe we're here for a reason. I survived for a reason. I know I should be dead. I know they've tried to kill me so many times.
How did you get out, though? I mean, you say that happened, you had his foot on your neck. How did you get out? I
was laying there for days, you know, again...
So they left you there?
They walked out because my other brother walked in and said, don't kill her here. It's a really common thing to take girls out of the country and kill them in India and Pakistan and Africa. It happens all the time. It's just we don't hear about it because I wasn't a statistic. Those girls are not statistics. So what you have written down on proof will never really be a true reflection of what's going on. I did crawl out, but it wasn't really crawling because my arm was broken, so I was using this part of my arms to shuffle forward. And I almost broke it down to if I can get to the door, if I can reach the handle, if I can get to the kitchen, if I can get to the fence, if I can get over the wall, then I'll be fine.
You climbed a wall?
I had to climb a huge 6-foot wall, which sounds so fictional, I know, but I think when you have a situation where you're either going to be killed, and I knew the house was full of angry people, and they wanted to kill me, and I just didn't want to die.
Was there anything there, I mean, was there anything that sort of gave you a sign to climb that wall?
It sounds strange, and people have laughed at this, but it's the truth. My dog was the loudest person in the house, but she was also my first form of warmth. She would, like, shuffle her bum into me, and I never had a hug, or I never had a mother's touching hand, a loving hand. I never had that fatherly hug, but she gave me that love. And she came and she sat, she looked at me, and I thought she's going to start barking. I literally said, please don't, and I touched her nose. And she literally looked at me and looked up, and it was almost like you need that sign sometimes, that person saying, come on, you've got this, just that support, which is a huge word. And I got over it.
So she came to you, kind of looked at you, almost as though she was saying, climb that wall, get out.
Literally.
Wow. Wow. So you got over the wall, And then there, what happened?
From there, I made it to try to get to my friends. I ended up getting a taxi driver to take me. It was really good. I believe in angels. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll keep saying it because people come in my path often. And they enabled me to live, I guess, and that's the difference. I got to my friends, they weren't there. I ended up at a police station who started to take down notes and took photos. But as soon as, you know, he said, what happened? And I said, an honour killing, he wasn't very interested and he got me to the hospital. I was at the hospital for 2 months and I would watch people coming and visiting their relatives.
No one for you?
But no one came for me.
Yeah.
But everybody that would pick my file, it would literally throw it down because it had this sticky note on it saying attempted honour killing. And it was almost like there was something wrong with me, which I believed anyway. I believed there was something wrong with me.
But you have come through all of that, though. Look at you now, really strong. Well,
Yeah.
what are you doing to try and... I know you're working hard to bring awareness. Talk to me about what you're doing now.
So that literally led me to being in a relationship for 23 years, which wasn't healthy. It was with someone who treated me very badly, but I didn't know how to be treated, I guess. I ended up becoming homeless 6.5 years ago because of domestic violence. And in a way, I moved away 3 years ago towards London and I was away from everyone. But I discovered that my father had a daughter out of wedlock, my half-sister, who he, for the sake of honour, abducted, and we don't know where she is.
OK.
And I'm not allowed to say too much.
We'll
But
leave. We won't talk about her.
But that prompted me to start speaking out because I felt I hadn't held him accountable. And when you don't hold somebody accountable, they do it again and again. And I started speaking up, and there's a stigma attached. There's a lot of threats that I received, death threats all the time. The Middle East are always threatening me. I had a death threat from the Mexican cartel the other day.
But you're still pushing forward, though.
I'm pushing forward because I don't want anyone to live my old life. I've been there. It's hurtful. I found this love now for me and to give to other people.
And you've got you've got children of your own now.
I've got 3 amazing children.
And do you have a partner who's not loving and kind to you?
No, I don't.
But you've got beautiful children.
I've got 3 amazing children.
That's amazing. Look, Nina, I could talk to you for ages. Nina, thank you so much for coming in and telling us the story.
Thanks so much.
Stay safe. Keep doing what you're doing because people need to know about it. And, you know, I wish you a safe everything.
Can I just quickly say, if there is anybody out there that's suffering from honour-based, gender-based violence or domestic violence or trauma of any kind, my non-profit is open to everyone.
Do you have a web address or somewhere they can go for the...
People can Google it, and I'm sure that if they look for me, they'll find it.
OK, all right, cool. So it's Nina Aouilk. She's an abuse survivor and activist, and you spell her name Aouilk.